Hello and welcome back to the 100 Jobs Project. I'm your host, Katie, and I'm so excited to chat with our guest today. We're talking to Jenna, who is kind of a queen of side quests, if you will. Jenna's a small business owner, photographer. She's dabbled in resume writing, worked in events in a past life, and I'm really excited to hear all about what she's doing. I feel like myself and probably a gazillion other people are very curious about what it takes to open an Etsy shop and succeed. And Jenna has done just that. So in addition to hearing all about her career, we're also going to talk about what it's like to open and run an Etsy shop today. So I think right now, within less than a year of opening, you have thousands of sales, hundreds of reviews. Congrats.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of the last 6.5 months. It's been exciting and fun.
Very excited to get into your story. And before I jump in, I should mention too, because we have new people who are coming to listen every week. This is a place I'm interviewing 100 women about what they do for work and how that work fits into their everyday lives. So, we are talking to people who are I don't want to say high flying in the corporate world as if you're not, but
No,
there's
totally.
just so many people in different careers. So a lot of different people, we're just hearing all the stories. Anyway, Jenna, let's chat. I would love to just get to know you a little bit before we get into everything. I am really curious if you have a breakfast of choice that you have been making a lot lately.
Yes, I am a die-hard lover of Red's turkey breakfast burritos. I don't know if you have a Costco near you,
Mm-hmm.
but I go through boxes weekly. It is a staple in my household. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner even. But Red's turkey sausage burrito, chef's kiss. Yes.
Okay. This is actually a tiny little maybe hot take that I have. I actually don't love breakfast burritos. I think I'm the only person that I know who doesn't love them.
I was the same way, honestly.
Really?
And I tried this when I was pregnant with my last kid, and it changed my life. And everyone I've introduced them to, also obsessed. Only the turkey sausage. Their other flavors, not so great, but
Okay.
give it a shot. I was the same way. I was anti-burrito, but I only had quick trip burritos up until that point.
Okay. No, very good to know. A pregnancy changes something. This will tell you that I do have a lot of hot food takes. Apparently, I did not like Taco Bell pre-pregnancy, and then I had my first, and I love Taco Bell. I've been converted, but it just took me having a baby to do that.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm headed to Costco tomorrow, so
Get it.
might add those to my list. My husband loves breakfast burritos, and they're so nice to just have something handy to warm up when you're in a rush. Now, I believe you're a pet owner too. Can you tell me a little bit about your pets?
So we have a full circus over here. We have 2 golden doodle dogs, Hershey and Holly.
Cute.
Hershey came with her name, and then Holly we got at Christmas time. So she was our little Holly present. And then we have 2 cats who are named Percy and Harry, and they're ginormous and lazy and so lovable, and I love them. So all animals welcome here.
Yes, I love a good, just big, lazy, snuggly dog. That's hard to go wrong with that. So you're based in Kansas, is that right?
Close, Kansas City. No,
Okay.
everybody and their mother thinks it's I'm on the Missouri
The
side.
Missouri side.
Yes, there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and they're okay. But Kansas City, Missouri is where it's at. That's where the
Okay.
Chiefs are right now. That's where the city is. That's where all the cool stuff. The airport, the World Cup. Come on.
The new airport is very cool.
Oh, yeah.
I have heard and seen pictures.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I've flown into the old Kansas City airport, and the new one looks amazing.
You got to come back because that one was not our finest. We've come back.
Yes. Now, are you a Kansas City Joe's fan?
I am. I do love some good barbecue. I think I prefer Q39 or Jack Stack, but I do love a good Joe's. And I'm not I grew up with barbecue, so it was
Sure.
it's not, I don't reach for it anymore, but when people come to town,
That's the place.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of a preview to what I was going to ask you. Being in the Kansas City area, are you a Kansas barbecue girl, or do you prefer other styles of barbecue?
To be honest, I don't think I've had that many other styles. I think Texas, my best friend lives in Dallas, and so I visit her, and I've had barbecue down south. I mean, it was okay, but you can be Kansas City. You just can't.
When you're raised on something, it just hits different. Anyway, I love Kansas City barbecue. That's probably my favorite of the barbecues. So you've won me over there for sure. Well, one thing that I love to ask everyone that we chat with is, what is in your work bag. And in your case, you, I believe, are primarily running your business from home. So
Mhm.
I'd love to know, what do you have at your workspace that keep you going?
Well, water, like emotional support water bottle,
Mm-hmm.
hands down.
Is it a Stanley cup?
And this one is a Stanley, but
Okay.
I have done a wallet too. I am not a brand loyalist. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If it's out there and it's cute color, I'm gonna grab it and I'm gonna drink water from it. So a good water bottle, and then a good podcast because I'm packing orders super late into the night. So you can always catch me listening to my weekly crime junkie, my morbid, and then all the political podcasts, all the variety, and then podcasts on how to build a better Etsy shop. That's like the other third of what I listen to. So those are my go-tos at my workstation.
I love it. So you've got the crime, you've got the politics, and then you've
Yep.
got the how to be better
Business.
at your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good mix, actually. You're informed, you're like, yeah, building your business, making it better, bringing in some money, and then the crime stuff is always a really just like fascinating stories. Well, let's chat. Let's get into
Yeah.
everything.
Let's do it.
I would love to know, like, what did you envision your life being when you were younger?
It was 4th grade when
Mm-hmm.
we had like a career day, and I hadn't really had a vision for my life, but someone came in and they were a graphic designer and they made all this cool stuff digitally back before it was easy. Not that it's easy to create digitally, but
Right.
it's a lot easier.
Pre-Canva.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pre-Canva era. We're talking Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, like
Yeah.
right when those
Word
things.
art in Microsoft, or like, what was that? Like clip art? Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes, and she just created all these really cool things, and she did it for an ad campaign that had an impact, and I was like, "Whoa, you could do this as a job?" I like art with my hand, but I'm not that talented. Maybe I could take this on digitally. So for the longest time, I was like, I'm gonna be a graphic designer. I'm gonna create cool stuff with technology, and that's gonna be my life. Didn't quite turn out that way, but that was my path probably until like end of high school. I was like
Okay.
committed to that bit. Yeah.
Wow, that's really impressive actually to find something in fourth grade and be committed to that. Because fourth grade, you're what? You're like 8, 9, somewhere in that
Just lost
range.
a couple teeth, still.
Right. I was like internally giggling at the fact that you were like, well, fourth grade, I didn't really have a plan. I'm like, none of us did. My plan was to be a dolphin trainer. Like, and that did not happen, clearly.
I am the oldest child, type A personality
Hmm.
to the core. So me, I always have to have a
You
plan.
had to have a plan. Yep. Yep. That's fair. No, that's amazing that that stuck
Yeah.
going through high school. Now, did you grow up in a household where business and career was really heavily emphasized, or did you kind of pursue that path on your own?
So I have two extremely hardworking parents who were very career driven. My mom, at the age of 30, was such an amazing woman, ran a nonprofit, and she was executive director
Wow.
at 30 of a nonprofit serving people with Down syndrome. And so she was serving communities, she was running events, she was licking mailers, she was providing services. So she was doing that side of it. And then my dad was working really hard to provide for a family in a different way by going the corporate path. And so he
Okay.
worked in human resources, and specifically his career led through leadership development. And so he did the executive at the corporate company, and my mom did the executive at the nonprofit. And so I just got the best of both worlds and the best of both flavors. And then on top of that, they both had a million side hustles going at all times as well. So it was
Wow.
very much see and then do as I grew older.
What kind of side hustles did they have going on?
So my mom is just a helper.
Hmm.
Her side hustles were never financially motivated, but if anyone needed help with anything after work hours, she was out there. She was in the community doing stuff for people. And then my dad, he now is a professor. He did a lot of leadership development trainings for different companies and corporations. And he still does that. And then he does like leadership coaching and leadership training.
Okay.
Before it was like on the internet. He's got a master's degree in it and stuff. So
Yeah, sounds like he's got a lot of real world
yes,
experience in
yes,
that.
yes.
Definitely fabulous parents to grow up with. I can see
Yeah.
how having both that nonprofit influence, where
Yeah.
you're really cause driven and you're service motivated, and then also having this corporate side where you're seeing the growth and the leadership in those areas could really like culminate to probably put a lot of pressure on you.
They didn't put it on me. I put it on myself. To be
Yeah.
clear, they were always very supportive,
I
but
mean, how could you not when you're seeing
Yes.
like role models like that in your
Yes.
household.
Yes.
That's that's really cool, but also a lot of pressure. Did you find that you were going out in high school and early on looking for experiences that would maybe contribute to your career later on?
Yes. So actually, my very first job at 16 was at a healthcare IT company in finance,
Wow.
working 40 hours a week as a high school business intern. And these were in the days where you showed up in a full suit. So I got like the little
Yeah.
skirt and the little blazer at 16 years old, was showing up every day to
Oh
finance
my
meetings
gosh.
in a healthcare IT company. Yeah, 40 hours a week. So I didn't go to the pool. I always wanted to work at like Hollister or Abercrombie so bad, or lifeguard like my friends. I know I did those internships all throughout college. So I went back. I was fortunate and I worked hard, and I worked in the finance department, the product pricing and packaging department, HR, and then eventually got into communications and marketing and event planning down the road there. Basically, the most boring job you could do for a 16-year-old. That was me.
I mean, yes, I have to agree, probably. That's also the most intense first job in high school I have ever heard. Usually, those first jobs are scooping ice cream or lifeguarding. Like you said, that was, I think, my first job working in retail. That is, I mean, incredible experience, but also really, really intense when
Yes.
you are that age and still in high school.
Yes.
I would imagine that at that point, you were probably thinking really seriously about what you wanted to do in college. Was graphic design still on your radar at that point, or were you thinking you were going to go in a different direction?
So someone wise somewhere once said, find what you're good at, what you like to do, and then if you can make money at it, and then go for that. And I don't know
Hmm.
who said it, and I'm probably butchering that phrase. So feel free to correct me if you, you know
The
what
intent
I'm
of the phrase, I think, matters usually more than the actual, especially if you're just summarizing it.
Yes. So I knew, like, in my heart of hearts, I didn't have the creative genius that so many artists have when it came to
Yeah,
graphic design. Like, I can handle my own in Adobe Photoshop, but
sure.
I just didn't have the next level. So I like sat back. I'm like, I'm going to be realistic. To be a creative genius, you have to be born that way. Like, no matter how hard I worked, I could know all the software. I would never get there. I thought about what I love to do, and what really captivated me and my experiences was not necessarily like creating the outcome of a design. It was taking a couple steps back and envisioning what that design would do for people. And so I kind of pigeonholed dream, and that's where I ended up, and going into marketing and creating, being like an account executive or a strategic communicator who helped create the vision, who worked alongside the creatives, the really cool people that were down to earth, the copywriters, the designers, and help build a brand, a brief, a pitch on how an ad was going to impact someone. When you're watching the Super Bowl, it's going to make you laugh, or how, when you're flipping through a magazine, that's going to make you stop and go, oh, I need that dress. Being part of it and knowing that my skill sets were so detail oriented, I always needed a plan. I love being in the room. I hate being on the outside of the door. Like, I want to be in the
Sure.
know. I thought the idea of like knowing an ad before it came out was like so cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, my career path from graphic designer switched to going to that marketing route. And it was great because I had the world's best journalism school in my back door at Missouri, #1 journalism school in the nation, MU represent. And they had an advertising wing. So I applied to get into that school, and I was accepted. And so even though I have a journalism degree, I have a strategic communication advertising degree,
Okay.
because math was not my strong suit, and marketing
Yeah.
through the business school was. I knew I wasn't going to survive as much over on that wing.
So you went to Missouri in college, you kind of pivoted into this marketing direction, and then what was next after school?
So I continued going back to the healthcare IT company, formerly Cerner, but it was acquired by Oracle. So it's Oracle now. I started in finance. I worked in product packaging, worked in HR, like I mentioned. And then I kept talking with my managers and my bosses each summer. I would come back, high school, college, like, I want to get into marketing. I want to get into
Hmm.
marketing. I want to get into marketing. And finally, there was an opening for an internship that they kind of helped create for me. So it was really cool. I'm working with the health conference team. So they put together a 28,000 person plus conference every year. that brought all the customers together. There was education sessions. It was a week long. And they had a communications portion of the conference. And so I landed an internship doing communications for the conference. I got to develop my first app with some cool people. I didn't code, but I
Sure.
worked alongside people and helped manage the project.
Yeah.
To develop an app that like end users would get to use when they were at the event. As an intern, like I got to do all this really cool stuff. And then when I graduated, that's where I landed full time working on the communications portion of that team and really learning what it takes to put on an event that size. It truly has a year-round team dedicated to it. That was my next step after I
Okay.
graduated a little early from college to join that team and actually kick off that conference that year.
And was that what really started pushing you in the events direction? Because I know you have some experience there.
Yes, yes. So I fell in love with event planning in that space, very similar to ad agencies, and that when you were in the midst of event planning, you get to work with creatives. So my job was kind of always to be at the center of it all. I would work with people who understood our company's products and they were the experts in our products and they knew how they wanted our products to be displayed, showcased, talked about at the event. And then I worked with the copywriters and the graphic designers in house, and they helped create that product owner's vision of life. And I was sitting there and I was helping orchestrate these meetings and helping make the magic and using my skill sets as an organizer because I knew, I'm not a product expert. I know I'm not a designer or copywriter to this level, but I do know how to manage a project and bring everything together and then help make the magic happen. I can sit back and be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I was part of the team. So that's where event planning kind of took over, and that's where my career direction went for the longest time.
No, that's really cool, especially when you're sitting in this like corporate space in tech,
Yeah.
starting to work with events. I think the episode came out a few weeks ago where I talked with a woman who plans events, but they're primarily for like individuals, or she does some corporate events.
Yeah.
Just thinking about her experience, like working on the corporate side doing events, is very, very different, and how valuable it probably was that you were able to have internships working in all of these different departments, especially as someone who's coming new, fairly fresh out of college. I feel like a lot of people come out of college and they kind of have experience in this one area that they studied, but you had seen like all different sides of the business and truly were able to bring things and probably people together and understand some of their concerns, maybe in a way that's different than other people would have. So very
I
cool.
was training my whole teenhood before that
Yes,
event.
you started really early
It was
getting
a
that
marathon
training
for
in,
Yeah.
and it paid off for you, it sounds like. So, what did events start looking like after that for you?
I was originally doing communications for events, and then
Okay,
the position opened up to do trade shows. And so I stepped into that role, the trade show like floor for that big event. And
okay,
that is like, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. It wasn't something I loved. It was a lot of like, we needed 500 monitors and these presenters, and the carpet needs to be plush, but not too plush. They have to have a
yeah,
little bounce, but not too much bounce. And then I did that role for a year and I completely burnt out. And so
mhm,
I was like, I need more purpose. I need to not like wake up in the middle of the night scared that I forgot to put a mouse pad at a station. Like those were my nightmares.
sure,
I was scared about keyboards. And I'm like, life is not that serious.
yeah,
You taking
very in the details.
Yes. And so, I stepped back and reflected and I was like, well, I've always loved my mom's nonprofit life. And
Mhm,
so I transitioned to a nonprofit at that point.
okay,
Again, kind of using the amalgamation of like everything I've learned. And I stepped into working for a nonprofit that focused on economic development in Kansas City. So that's where my Kansas City pride comes from. And it was KC Tech Council. So focused on growing tech companies in Kansas City, bringing in new tech companies, making sure that we were a tech friendly city. And then I was the manager of programs and events for that space for a while. And so it was definitely different. I went from like a huge corporate office, several corporate offices, suits and stuff, to a
yeah.
WeWork space with 4 people on my team and like just experiencing life so differently and like parking downtown in a garage and feeling, like a cool local coffee shop in the morning.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a big change going from corporate
Yes.
tech at a company that would become
Yeah.
part of Oracle or maybe was at that point to nonprofit, WeWork space, downtown.
Mhm.
Yeah, very different vibes.
Yes.
Now, did you feel really at home there, or did you start transitioning after a little while into something new?
No, I loved working in that space. It was a different type of environment. I felt like I was, offering impact to my community. I love Kansas City so much. And then to know that like I was helping people find jobs at tech companies and we were working on cool like apprenticeship stuff and we were working with local schools and getting tech into schools and like anyway. I love that part of my life, but I guess what I should have started with was my first job that I've always wanted to have is become a mom.
Mhm.
So I got pregnant in that role.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I transitioned away from working in a working capacity and transitioned into motherhood.
I mean, it sounds like that role definitely had a lot of results that you were able to see in just like tangible fulfillment, really helping people.
Yeah.
But that's something that you can also definitely start to see in motherhood as well.
Yeah.
Now, did you go back to work after having your first, or did you decide, I think I'm going to be at home for a little while? What was that like for you?
My first was born January 1st, 2020, and
Okay.
my maternity was 3 months. So my maternity leave ended March 12th and 2020, and the whole
Okay.
world shut down March 13th.
Yep.
I was a new mom. I was struggling with postpartum anxiety. My husband's always been super supportive of working or staying at home, and so going in, we were like, oh, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Like I love work. I grew up with a really driven career mother, but I also like love the idea of staying at home with my children. And there's no wrong answer. It's all independent of
Yes.
each woman, and both are powerful. But for us, we were going back and forth, and then the universe gave us the answer because you literally could not go drop a child off at a daycare
Right.
because the world shut down. So that was a long-winded answer of saying I did not go back to work once
Okay.
my career leave ended. I then stepped into that new role of sensory bins and cleaning up messes and being a stay-at-home parent.
That's an exciting role, but also at a really tough time. I mean, I have so much respect for all parents and especially all mothers everywhere, but especially moms who had kids and especially became mothers during a global pandemic when everyone is worried about germs. And even at the beginning, when people were like cleaning Amazon packages
Yes.
or disinfecting mail and everything, that's just scary and an isolating time too, when you really could use some help and some community.
Yes.
So my hat is off to you and all
Thank
of
you.
the other moms in the world who went through that.
Yes, I count myself lucky that I was able to have my child before it really hit full force because I have friends who, were pushing, right after it happened. I mean, you can't say the global pandemic's going on, but you still gotta have a baby in April. Like there's no
Right.
stopping that. And so just hearing how they went through that. And I was fortunate, my family got to meet my firstborn, they got to hold him and do that stuff. And then I was isolated afterwards, sure, but I'm grateful I had that little bit of time up front. And then it allowed me to really figure out what motherhood was without a village afterwards with the 3 month old.
Yeah.
My mom wasn't really stopping by, not because she wouldn't, but just because, out of abundance of caution at the time. And so I worked really, really hard to try to be as independent as I possibly could and like just own motherhood, all the podcasts on motherhood at that time.
Yeah.
I had listened to a podcast on diaper rashes, so I could
Wow.
understand the 10 different type of diaper rashes. I would go back and give, first time mom Jenna a big hug, be like, "It's not that. You're okay, honey."
That is next level. Yeah, you probably do deserve a big hug, your past self. But also if I ever have diaper rash questions in the future, you know that you're gonna get a text
Yeah,
from me.
yeah.
So
A perpetual lifeline, send me a pic.
I would imagine, is this the time that side hustles and side quests really
Yeah.
started coming into your life?
I had my first, and then pretty quickly after I had my second, and I just started feeling that itch of like, oh, I want to, not because necessarily like it was a necessity, but because I wanted to bring in money for myself. I don't know. My whole life since I was 16, like I always had a paycheck and I was always
Yeah.
kind of like we're fine, we're living comfortably. Like, oh, I missed that like reward of like contributing to something, working, and then you get paid for it. Like I miss that.
Yeah.
experience. And I miss so many things of like just talking to adults and experiencing that. So the world kind of opened back up after I met second, and I really dove back into photography. I've been doing photography since, I don't know, I was 12. And so I started photographing again, and that just brought so much life into my life again, joy. And I was like, okay, I need to keep doing this. I need to have like this little moments of me because going out and making people smile and capturing images that were going to be on their walls, for, I don't know, decades to come and their grandchildren to see, like, that was really fulfilling for me. And then it was also an era of great change. So, like, before AI really took off, after the pandemic, a lot of people were doing the great resignation. And a lot of people were in a place of transition and hadn't touched a resume decades for a lot of the people I worked with. And
Wow.
so that was a season of life where they were in a frantic, scared place. It's so vulnerable transitioning from one position to another. And I took a lot of great pride in helping people not feel embarrassed about not having the resume, not feel, scared to step into a next role, hyping people up. A lot of people are like, I don't know, I'm not that great. I'm like, you're freaking awesome. Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? Look at all this stuff you did. And so that was just a really another joyful place for me. And then evenings after my kids went to bed, I would have consultations with people, nurses who are like, okay, I feel overworked. Like, I want to transition here, going from corporate life to nonprofit. I'm like, I've been there. I can help
Yeah.
you. And I use my writing experience, if you will, to help people find a new home and create joy there.
Okay, so you started with some photography,
Yeah.
morphed into offering some resume writing services. How did you find clients and people for that? Were you posting everything online, word of mouth?
Word of mouth.
Okay.
But word of mouth usually, and then if a client was happy, then they would tell their friends. And in the era of Great Resignation, everyone was like, whoa, your resume is cool. Like, who did that? Who helped you with that? And so
Hmm.
I think I did something like in that time, like 60 to 70 resumes.
Wow.
Yeah. Now it's a lot easier. Now you can just consult Chat GPT and help me. It was a rewarding part of my career, if you will.
Definitely. No, it sounds like you were kind of dabbling and exploring some different mediums to find some personal fulfillment.
Yes.
And was the Etsy shop the next phase of that dabbling?
Yes. So the Etsy shop, like we talked about at the very beginning, is a relatively new chapter of my career saga, but it's been one that it makes me feel with pride. I'm so proud of myself. As moms, I don't think we get to say that enough. And I've
Hmm.
been working so hard, and it's like my little baby. And I never thought like owning a small business, if you will, would be so rewarding and that personal fulfillment chapter. But building something from the ground up is just so cool. It's just so cool. My husband got a 3D printer for his birthday in June.
Okay.
And all I knew about 3D printers was like dragons, if you will. And like, I don't know if you've experienced anything 3D printed before, just like the little fidget toys and stuff. But then the algorithm listens, and I started getting these 3D printing videos in my feed. And I was like, oh, you can do like a lot of really cool stuff with this. Can I borrow your machine? And my oldest was going off to kindergarten, and I wanted to have like a really cool keychain name backpack tag thing for him to go off to school. So I like sketched out a little pennant on a piece of paper and then kind of built it in Canva again, using my graphic design skills, if
Okay.
you will. And then we turned it into an actual keychain that was like I don't know if you've ever seen the cool pennant flags that are in kids' rooms and nurseries a
Yeah.
lot with their name on it. So we made a keychain version of that essentially.
Cute.
And like bright pastel colors. My son's favorite color is blue, and he wanted a blue keychain. And it glows in the dark.
Hmm.
Anyway, I made that. I was like, we could sell this. So using my background in photography, kind of like took a couple photos, kind of mocked up some copy and posted in a neighborhood group. And I was like, hey, we're selling these keychains if anyone wants some. And we got just overwhelming response from strangers, which was so
Wow.
validating. My sister loved it. But to hear like neighbors were like, oh yeah, no, I want that for my kid's backpack going back to school. Like, that'd be great. Can you do it in this color? Can you make it look like this? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. That then turned into Etsy. I was like, well, could we sell these online? And we were like, yeah, I think there's a demand there. I just jumped in full force and haven't looked back. And it has been such a cool ride to like see things that you create and design, like you draw, come to life, and then people like it and they appreciate it and
Yeah.
it brings them joy. Our tagline of our store is playful and practical creations. And so I just love adding that dose to other people's lives.
Playful and practical creations. I really like that. That's really
Thank
fun.
you.
It sounds like you had this idea, made something just really for yourself, for your family, and then you saw some demand for it and decided to take it to a bigger platform. What
Yes.
was the process for starting an Etsy shop like? Was it kind of hard to work with the platform and get on there? Was it overwhelming or did it all seem pretty straightforward?
Both. I
Okay.
think I was in my head a lot of the time. There are a lot of steps. There are a
Okay.
lot of things to think through. Getting an LLC took, some research, but
Yeah.
really done within an
Yep.
hour and $100 later. Then
Is
getting
that
a
a requirement? Sorry, for an Etsy shop?
yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not a requirement. You have the option of either having it hit your individual tax return and individual taxes, or you can do it through an LLC. And so we just decided as a family that we like the protection of an LLC as
Yep.
well as like just funneling all taxes through that form. And then we also got a PO box. So our return address wasn't our home address on everything that we
Yeah,
were
that's
sending out
nice.
to people. So figuring that out, and, that was something that was not hard again, but it was intimidating.
Yeah.
Setting up an actual store, I was my own worst critic. I sat on it for like 2 weeks. I'm like, no one's gonna buy anything. No, no one's gonna. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I think my husband just grabbed my computer and he said it
Hit
live, and I was like, "Wait, what? Take it back, take it back!" Like I didn't finish rereading everything 500 times. I was my own worst enemy, but creating the shop very easy. They make it a very user friendly platform. The hardest part was just getting out of my own head.
Sure.
That was the hardest part. And I think my mantra over the last 6 months continually has been progress over perfection.
Mhm.
Getting something out there and getting something done is better than, I've printed off like 200 different models of one thing and it sits in my house and that never goes live because I overthink it. And
Uh-huh.
so, anyway, it has been a really fun project to prove to myself that you don't have to have everything figured out as a type A person, that you can just learn as you go and grow as you go and still reach success.
Yeah. I would say you've had a lot of success before,
Thank you.
just as an
Thank you.
outsider.
Thank you.
I would love to know, did you feel pressure to have a certain number of products when you launched? How did you decide what you were going to make? Was it all just different versions of the little keychain that you'd made for your child? How did you decide on pricing for everything? Those are a lot of decisions that I think can feel a little overwhelming if you start thinking about it.
Yes, and they totally were. Now looking back, I was really grateful. I had my sister's sister-in-law owned an Etsy shop.
Okay.
And I felt like she was very successful. She did digital mock-ups. So anytime you buy a shirt off Etsy, there's a chance that like her hair was in the background because she would take pictures of herself wearing like a comfort color shirt, and then other people would buy that photo to put their design on it. And
Okay.
oh, that's so cool. And she was bringing in, a good chunk of money each month to help support their family. I was like, okay, tell me everything. And she gave me the best tips. I'll just pass those on.
Sure.
Start with a full shop, but don't feel like you need to have hundreds of listings. So I made sure that it was not just like one or two listings. You have to build trust with a customer, and having a mostly empty shop doesn't show that like you're committed.
Mhm.
You're going to mail out the product they buy from you, that you have a lot of different, options and versions. So I think I started with 20 listings.
Okay.
Don't let that fool you. I did not have 20 products. One of the biggest hacks of Etsy is knowing who you're talking to. And,
Mhm.
if you sell it to everyone, you sell to no one. So the keychains that I made for my son, camp bachelorette parties are very trendy right now.
Yeah.
And so I made a separate listing for bachelorette parties where brides would get their, bridesmaids' names on these cute little pennants and tag them on tote bags when they got to Nashville or the Smoky Mountains or wherever they were going for bridal
Mhm.
parties. So I made a listing talking specifically to brides and bridesmaids.
Okay.
And then I made listings talking to kids, of course, but teacher appreciation gifts. And then there was like a sporting angle. So I think I sold the same keychain, but like 5 different ways in 5 different listings, which Etsy encourages. Etsy, encourages as long as you are truly unique. So that's how I started opening my shop. And then to continue momentum, we try to release something at least, 2 or 3 times a month. And to your question of how do I decide? It's kind of whatever comes into my head right now. I'm starting to get more routine. I'm starting to look ahead to like holidays. Like right now, I'm creating stuff for Mother's Day, which is fun as a mother,
Mhm.
and thinking about what I might like or what my husband might buy for me because they're the buyers at that point. And graduation and looking ahead to summer, I look at what's kind of trendy right now, what's selling, but ultimately if it's not playful and it's not practical, it's not going in the store. So there,
Okay.
I always ground myself. I'm like, yes, I could literally create anything, but is it going to make someone's life better in a practical way, or is it going to make them smile in like a fun, joyful way? And if not, it doesn't hit the store.
I imagine those are very helpful guardrails to have, and that's something that, I haven't necessarily started an Etsy shop, but just having worked in brand for such a long time, feel like it is really helpful for
Mhm.
people to kind of have a few of those key principles or components of what they want their brand, their store, whatever it is that they're doing to embody, even if it's like a service that you were providing, what are a few components of how you want people to walk away feeling or like perceiving you. Really helpful to just have those and make sure that you're always thinking back. Is this
Yeah.
playful? Is this practical? Or whatever else you may be doing to kind of guide where you're going to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. So I
Yeah.
love that you have those. It sounds like, yes, there is some whimsy involved in
Yeah.
some of the decisions, but that whimsy is also really structured and planned and cool to have even like a little schedule or calendar where okay, well, I know that I can look ahead to this, I can look ahead to this. What am I preparing for? So you're not totally just flying by the seat of your pants.
Yes. No, I learned real fast. You can't put out something for Halloween a week before Halloween. Especially with Etsy. We're not a 2-day shipping platform over there. You gotta customers come to you 2 months in advance. And so you gotta, get things out there 3 months in advance.
So along those lines, what does a work day look like for you? Because it sounds like you're home with your kids, you have some kids in school, but you're also finding some time for work here and there. Tell me a little bit about what that looks like.
I'm not gonna lie, I could use a lot more routine and I'm working on that. That's a new resolution I have is better structure on my mornings. They kind of just happen at me. My children wake me up at like 5:30 or
Hmm.
6, and that's when the day goes.
Sleep is
But
valuable.
it is, especially since my toddler doesn't. So, he's almost 2, hasn't slept through the night once. So
Oh,
that's been
God bless you.
wonderful.
Sending
But
all the good vibes your way. That's really
thank
tough.
you. Thank you. But what's cool about that is that, I didn't wait until he slept through the night to kind of start an Etsy or wait for the perfect morning routine. I feel like those
Yeah.
are all over Instagram, and they got in my head. I'm like, oh, I don't wake up and work out and then journal and then meditate and then wake up my kids. Like life just happens at me in the morning.
Yeah.
My two older children, they go to school, and then my youngest stays home with me. So I usually try to get him in the morning some sort of activity. We do big mag tile family in
Hmm.
this house. He loves to, build things, and what, or honestly, an empty water bottle is probably his favorite toy right now, if
Love
I'm
it.
going to be honest. Everything has already been created in the nighttime, but in the morning I put it together. I write thank you notes. I put a lot of thought into packaging and making sure that it's going to get there safely and it's going to get there cute. Those are my priorities. With how small everything is, it goes in a nice bubble mailer. I write a personal thank you note to everyone who buys from my store, and then really cutely package what they purchased and some sort of fun bag with confetti usually, and a free sticker always. And then I have that bag ready to run to the post office at some point throughout the day. It is a daily ritual going to the post office. No one tells you that
Okay.
when you start an Etsy shop, but especially now we go to the store every single day. When you're starting out, it's very important to prove that you can ship reliably. and that you can do it quickly.
Mhm.
So Paula's my best friend. She's the lady that works at the post office.
Okay.
Where we got her a Christmas present. She's family now. She knows my kids' names. Like
That's
she's
amazing.
coming to their weddings. She's fantastic. And we go, if not every day, every other day to drop off
Okay.
packages, usually around lunchtime, or, if my little one's napping and my husband thankfully works from home, if he can step away over his lunch break to drop off packages. And then we do family time after my kids come home from school, and whatever that looks like, going on a walk or like vegging out and watching a movie. Whatever
Yeah.
our kids need that day and what we need that day. And then the ground hits running at 8:30 p.m. That's like when all the magic happens. I'm usually designing products from like 8:30 or 9:30 in Canva or in drawing, or I'm researching, upcoming things down the pipeline, upcoming trends, taking all my podcast knowledge. How can we rebundle things? How can we sell things and offer more value? And then from like 9:30 to midnight, we've got printers running, creating the product, inspecting the product, making sure that they're coming out quality, looking at our orders that have come in, kind of analyzing, hey, this needs to go up by this time. There's a lot of little baskets, and
Yeah.
no one tells you how many baskets you
Yeah.
get when you open a small business. I have a bin of like, okay, this one needs to go out on Tuesday, this one needs to go out on Wednesday, and so we've created a good system, from 8:30 to midnight. Those are my business hours, if you will.
Okay.
This packaging.
That's, yeah, definitely busy. Do you always have to be awake when the 3D printer is running, or are you ever able to like jump in and do something else while some of those orders are processing?
3D printers are kind of set it and forget it. You kind of want
Okay.
to check on them because they can be a little temperamental,
Sure.
every once in a while, or peek in, because nothing's worse than like creating something that you need to print and forgetting to check the first couple layers. And yeah, you get spaghetti and you're like, oh, that's 3 hours
Yeah.
spaghetti that has come out.
Sure.
Most of that time that is after like creating is like putting keychains on things. So it came
Okay.
from the printer. Now it needs a keychain, or now it needs a sticker, or it needs to be sanded, or it needs to have like a heat gun to it. Sometimes I'll do some of the packaging at night. So I'll put it in a cute little Mylar holographic bag, and I'll get that ready before dropping it off in the morning. I always try to pack in the morning because I have fresh eyes in the morning. I'm not
Yeah.
exhausted. I'm not going to put Sam's order in Lindsay's bag,
Yep.
because I've done that. I did
I'm
that a long
sure.
time ago, and I learned real quick. You got to triple, double check everything. So that's the routine for me in the evening. Sometimes I get to go to bed a little bit earlier, like 10, and then we had an item go viral, and we're like, oh, 100 orders. We're
Yeah.
going to get those out in this week. How are we going to have them? My mom comes over, watches the kids. We're throwing keychains on everything. So,
Really exciting to have something like that happen, but when there
yeah.
is extra manual labor that is going into that, I can imagine that that is
Yes.
a lot. Now, do you ever get time for yourself? How are you unwinding if you have a chance to?
Yes. So usually in the background and what's going on is my husband and I are cinema junkies. So we
Mhm.
enjoy a good Netflix binge. We enjoy a good documentary. We enjoy a good series. That is our way to unwind and connect with the other side of the world as our escape, if you
Yeah. Yeah.
the other side of our escape, our fantasy world, if you will. I'm sure like much people, they do
Mhm.
that. And then on the weekends, when we're not working, just really trying to have intentional time with our children and trying to do fun things like zoo trips, or, whatever common parent loves to do with their little kids, family walks, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense, and I'd imagine that that me time probably shifts and change is through like over time and throughout life, but it's always interesting to hear what that time looks like for
Yeah.
different people depending on what situation and season of
Yes.
life
Yes.
they're in. It sounds like your season of life is very busy right now with
Yes.
kids and a new shop that you have been growing and figuring out how to manage. Which we need to mention your shop name. I'm sorry
Oh,
we haven't.
no, we're
It's
good.
Print by Print Co. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Print by Print Co. Come for us if you need some small dose of whimsy. We're here.
Check it out on Etsy. We'll
Thank
link
you.
it in the show notes. I think you've shared some fabulous just tips and insights into the process of opening a shop and how some of your experience like prior to that has really helped with this. I would love to know what some of the podcasts are that you listen to specifically about your Etsy shop.
So there's a couple. There's one by Lizzie Smiley that I listen to that's like how to sell on Etsy.
Okay.
And she does like quarterly trend reports and forecasting. She interviews all these great people. I'm part of her monthly mailer list where she mails out trend reports. She's great. And then I also listen to How to Grow Your Etsy Shop, and he's more like tactic oriented. He's given me a lot of great ideas on like how I can position my sales to add value to the customer while also making sure that I am paying myself like an actual wage,
Yeah,
and not able to keep my business afloat, but not running myself
sure.
into the ground. And so those are two that I listen to pretty frequently.
Fabulous. Do you feel like this is something that you might want to do long term? Are there other goals that you're hoping to pursue?
Yes. I kind of just, like you said, this is a very busy season of life and I'm enjoying it. But I've always said, like if I don't enjoy it tomorrow, then I'm going to move on to something new.
Yeah.
Life's too short. And that has kind of been my mantra of just surrendering to the universe, surrendering to chaos. Because, like I said over and over, I always like to have a plan. Life does not always let you have a plan. And the more I try to fight, like over engineering everything, the less happy I am. And I find that I am the most happy just finding my path as it comes to me and surrendering to the chaos, but also the joy and just what every day can bring. So right now I love the Etsy shop. I love like the sweet reviews that we get. We're like, oh, I put this, here and it brings me so much joy. Like, thank you so much. Like that just warms my heart. One day in the future, I have a huge heart for animals. Like when I'm not so hands-on with my children, I would love to do something at animals, even if it's like working the penguin exhibit, picking up animal poo. Like
Yeah.
I get to be near animals. Like that would be really cool one day. Again, the older I get, the more I'm just chasing joy. It's
Yeah.
less about like career aspirations and just what makes me happy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. I mean, I think to some extent, we always have to be along for the ride, but you also want to enjoy the ride. And
Mhm.
so, if there are things that you can do to make that ride more beautiful and joyful and just really love the moment that you're in, I am all for that. And it feels like this is something that you've put your heart into. And I really am a firm believer that when you put your heart into something, that is when you're going to find some fulfillment. Thinking about your life, I would love to know what success looks like for you.
Ooh, I think success is just being able to be proud of what you've created or what you've done for the day or what you've served or given. And if you're proud and you feel like what you did made a difference to you or to other people, like that is success to me. It's not necessarily a title. It used to be a title. Like I used to want to be, president, CEO, all that kind of stuff. It's not a title for me anymore. It's not necessarily reach, this many followers, this many store buys, this many reviews. It's genuinely just I just want to be proud. And there are days that I'm like, oh, I could have done better. I did cross country in high school, and I think a lot of runners, it's you're just trying to beat your PR. Like
Yeah.
you're just trying to do better than past you, and you're just trying to make past you proud of present you. And so that's success for me.
Being able to be proud of who you are, what you've become, what you're doing. I think that is really beautiful. And what a great reminder to just be focused on the road ahead. It's
Yeah.
so easy to look left, look right,
Yeah.
look whichever way. And half the time we don't actually know what is going on in those worlds,
Yeah.
but we do know what our own PR is and we can be
Yes.
that. So I think
Yes.
that is beautiful and probably a wonderful place to end. Thank you so much again, Jenna, for joining us today. And I wish you success wherever life takes you. For anyone who is tuning back in, you'll find us next Wednesday. You can find us at 100jobsproject.com. We're on Instagram at 100jobsproject. If you want to support the show, tell people about it, tell your friends, share an episode on your Instagram story, leave a review. And with that, we will see you next week. Thank you so much.